Welcome back to my channel, guys. So today I am doing something that I've wanted to do for a while now, which is depot and rearrange these Rimmel palettes that I have here. Because the way that they are now kind of makes me not really want to play with them or reach for them, so I'm going to try to change them into something that I want. So here I have my 5 palettes, and I have the Magnifies Thunderstorm, the Wow, Jewel Rocks, which was my favorite out of all of them beforehand because of the green and orange combination of the shades inside of it, the Reloaded palette, and the Rainbow, which wasn't really rainbow to me, but sure, whatever you say, Rimmel. Also, for those of you who may be wondering, I do have lipstick swatches on the inside of my right arm, so don't be alarmed. And I poured myself a glass of wine because I had no idea how this would turn out, and began. Now, before I started, I consulted the highest depotting authority available, YouTube. And then, despite all my research, I did not subject the palettes to any heat to loosen the glue. I just dove right in. Now, I used a blow dart, essentially a really long needle, to pry out the pans at first, and that seemed to work well, but I also think that the pans in this first palette just had less glue than the others because it got increasingly difficult as I went on. Now, I pried each pan out by wiggling the pointy end of the needle/dart in between the edge of the metal pan and the plastic. The matte green in this palette was my first casualty as it cracked almost completely, so then I used my previous research to try to prevent that and sprayed the crap out of the remaining shades with alcohol, which I had in my little spray bottle. Now this helped a little bit, but later you'll see that even with the alcohol, the shades still cracked. And that's the first palette done, and my face pretty accurately reflects how I was feeling. Now, I didn't find any depotting videos about plastic palettes like these, which is why I thought making this would be informative, hopefully. Whether it will be or not is open to interpretation. Now, as you may have noticed halfway through the first palette, I switched tools to a metal spatula/carving tool, which worked much better, and I tried 2 different kinds, one that was more bendable and thin, and one that was thicker and more sturdy, and the thicker one was definitely superior. And unfortunately some of the metallic shades broke as well, and I just did my best to scoop up their remains and pop them back into the pan for repressing later on. Now, my mom was watching me do this and commented that I should also be recording the faces I was making while depotting, as they were fairly entertaining. I did not realize what I was doing with my face, so I've included them for your viewing pleasure. Alright, back to depotting. It was very satisfying to feel the pans come up out of the palette, and arranging them by themselves on my mat made me feel very proud of myself. However, the glue was very sticky, and as I was rearranging one of the shadows, it flipped over and died. I did my best to scoop up the remains and put it back, but most of the shadow was lost, and later I found it all over my fingers and hands. And there you have it, all 5 palettes depotted. As you can see, most of the casualties were the matte shades, even after being sprayed with liberal amounts of alcohol, but I kind of enjoyed the appearance of the cracked shadows. It reminded me of all the cosmetics ads that I've seen on Instagram where the company breaks the shadows for no apparent reason. Aesthetics. So then I began the task of repressing every shadow that cracked, which wasn't that difficult. I simply sprayed it with a lot of alcohol, then took a clean paper towel and pressed down evenly with my fingers until they were all back together. Then as I was doing this, I started sorting them into color families: pink, purple, blue, green, etc. And in case you were wondering what I was doing while repressing,
We'll be there, we'll be seen, having tea with the Queen, we'll forget everything that we've ever been.
I was clearly listening to the Corpse Bride soundtrack. So there are all the shadows pressed with the empty palettes, and now for the fun part, rearranging all of the color stories to my liking. Now each palette had 12 shades, so I tried to keep the similar colors together as much as possible. And as far as jobs go, I feel like this one would be really fun to do. I would love to be a palette arranger. I don't know if there's an official title for that, but hit me up if you'd like to hire me. And the best part of it all was that even if I didn't like the groupings that I came up with now, because the palettes are plastic, I can simply rearrange them as I please in the future. Now unfortunately, because there weren't 12 blue shades or 12 pink, I just included some of the neutral shades with each of those to help fill out the palettes. And this is what the final color stories look like. I had a silver, black, and purple palette, a green and yellow, pink and brown, and the blue was a bit of a mix of all kinds of shades, and then the copper and yellow for the last one. And then once I was happy with the arrangement of colors that I had, I just popped them all back into the palettes one by one. Now the glue was fairly sticky, so they just went right back in, and they stayed once I pressed down on the pans a little bit, which was fantastic. Now one thing I found interesting in all my research, a lot of depotting videos that I watched simply just destroyed the packaging, mostly because it was all cardboard, and then they just put them into Z palettes, but that's clearly not what I wanted to do with mine, because I wanted to be able to take them with me if I wanted just a green palette that day, or a pink, or a blue, whatever it may be. So I'm really happy that the glue allowed me to put them all back in the original palettes just the way they were. And then here are the palettes all done, depotted and repotted. I'm pretty happy with how they came out and how they look now as opposed to before, and personally I feel like I'm going to want to reach for them a lot more now that they're more on the monochrome side. Some of the pans got a little dented and squished, as you can see here on my close-ups, but they still fit, which is great. And for this whole entire process of depotting and then repotting everything, it took me about 2 hours. That's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope it helps if anyone wants to depot a plastic palette. See you next time!